What's up, airplane nerds? We're going to put together a new aerial this morning. Not a lot going on in the North County of San Diego. It's cold. There's no surf. Chargers are losing. Don't know what's going on in the Steeler game. Baby's chilling on the floor. Pool's too cold. We're going to put some control rods into the new aerial wing that Thomas just sent. We're going to follow along the stock install procedure here. I'll walk you guys through the installation via video. Easier than just clicking on a couple pictures. So stay tuned and I'll walk you through it. What are you doing, baby? Alright, so here's what we got. We got a little wax paper. We got a little tape. We've got some epoxy, some micro balloons, some glue, some toothpicks, Dremel.
What are you doing?
I'm putting together a little video so that people can see how we put together this this wing. What are you doing?
I am doing what you are doing.
Well, that's pretty much exactly right.
So easy a 2-year-old can do it.
Okay. Thanks, Ellie. So two things here. Add a little bit of tape to the each side of the hinge line and relieve a little bit more out of the bottom of the wing here where the actuators are going to fit through. So I've taken an X-Acto and I've relieved the inside of the hinge line here, both sides, and I've relieved the root channel a little bit more, make sure there's freedom of movement here. We're ultimately going to tie these skins back together here with some glue. So you can see the channel's been made. Next thing I'll do is I'll create a little bit of a channel here on the main panel on the non-aileron side. So I've relieved the channel underneath the wing, and I use a Dremel with a little rotating saw blade on there, and I get that opened up. And I use an X-Acto knife to relieve the row cell out of there. We'll clean that up later. The most key thing here to note is not to get the hinge at all. You want to be very careful, make sure your hinge does not fall prey to a spinning Dremel blade or an accidental slip of the knife. And what we're going to do next is make sure we tape over that hinge line with a little bit of tape to make sure we don't get any glue on that hinge line when we put the actual push rods in. So what I've done here is I've put a little strip of tape over the hinge line and left the bottom skin exposed, top skin exposed, but we've covered up the actual hinge with some tape to make sure that epoxy doesn't get in the hinge line. So here what I've done is I've test fit the control, I don't know what to call these things, these are the actuators I guess. So I've test fit them in here, made sure that I've relieved enough under both sides of the skin to get full flap deployment, and we'll go ahead and test fit the other one, and we'll make sure that that one fits, then we'll mix up our epoxy and get this thing glued in. The way that I do this is, and it's hard to do it with holding the camera, but I drop the push rod connector through the wing, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply deploy the flap here all the way down, and I will insert this into the aileron. You just go straight down through the top there. Make a small hole, you don't have to go all the way in. This is pointy enough where the teeth and the serration will insert itself into the aileron. I just keep my fingers on both the top and the bottom as I'm doing it to make sure I don't puncture the skin. Okay, so I'm getting the wing prep for adhesive, epoxy, and what I do is I put a little gate here out of tape. I don't know if you can see this, but I slide a little piece of tape here between the root and the flaperon. What I do is I fully deploy it down, make sure I don't stress the hinge. I put that little piece of tape in there. What that does is when you When you tape the aileron to the root to let this thing sit, you're confident that you're not going to get any epoxy floating out of the way of the channel and gluing your flapper on in the clean section position here. So I just want to put that there to make sure that when you're all done, you've actually got some control over the airplane. It's on both sides. We're ready to get going now. So we've mixed up some epoxy and microblones here. I'm going to work really quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the aileron here, and then I'm going to fill it in on this side here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in the actuators. I'll show you what the end result looks like. So we've got the actuators in the wing here. What I've done is I've used the tape to keep the adhesive off the hinge, and we've made sure that the push rods are going to be even mechanically alongside the wing, the bottom. And what I've done, the last little thing I've done is I've taken the actuator on the underside of the wing and I've actually pulled it down to make sure it seats underneath and is able to rotate appropriately. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set it outside and we're going to let it cure. And when it's cured, we're going to take it out and clean it up and make sure that everything's bonded the way it should. Beer, epoxy. Don't get them mixed up. Here's the last little bit with the tape removed. This is all going to be covered up by beautiful pink gap seal. So you're not going to see any of this stuff. And again, just to reaffirm for you guys that you can get this kind of deflection. I mean, this is vertical here. You can see there's no issues at all with the hinge being stressed or delaminated there on either side. So hopefully that gives you guys a method to approach installing the stock linkage in your aerial.